Hello and welcome back everyone. How you all doing? For today I bring you my showcase slash full guide on my newest World vs World build, which in my opinion it's the best hybrid build for the Soulbeast right now. The reason why I say this is not only because it's fun, strong and unique, it also follows the same theme from almost all the builds I make, which is the fact that you can take it and twist it to your own liking and playstyle. It could be said that this is the brother of my Venom Soul build, and I'm going to call this one the Blood Soul. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it, and then afterwards I will leave you with a cool compilation and some interesting 1v2s. Cheers! Before we go over the fully detailed guide, I want to talk about the first important mechanic and one of the reasons I think the build is quite unique. It would be how many sources of life leech that we have, and I'll leave a clip on the background as I explain them. The first one being Carnivore, which is going to steal a decent chunk of health every time we and our pet disable a foe, with a small internal cooldown of about 1.5 seconds, which isn't a problem once we get used to the build and we start layering our CCs. Then everything falls into place beautifully. The next one is going to be Predator Scanning, which does more or less the same than Carnivore. It's just going to steal life from the opponents, but instead, every time we apply poison, without internal cooldown and in a smaller amount. Now those two are already giving us some damage and sustain, but we still got more. Superior Sigil of Blood on our ShortBow, it's going to be stealing a decent chunk of HP every time we crit, on a short 5-second cooldown according to the wiki. Then we can complement that with our food choice, which is going to give us some precision and a 66% chance to steal life on crit. This makes it a very dynamic build where you want to be, for the most part, hitting stuff all the time, even as you're kiting away. The more you hit them, the more you're sustaining yourself, and that's also damage that you apply, and that can't be reflected or negated. Whenever you lifesteal, that's going through no matter what. And by now you kinda can see where the direction of the build is taking us. So of course it's a build that's centered around having many CC sources to proc Carnivore as much as we can, combining that with huge condition burst, pretty decent on hit damage, and also while having decent mobility and tankiness. So, let's move into the gear to see how we managed to accomplish all that. So, very similar to the video I made after the Celestial nerfs on my Venom Soul build, I theory crafted and tested pretty much all combinations of stats, and in the end, this one hit the sweet spot for me. Surprise surprise, turns out that Celestial is still super strong, and it was the answer all along. We are using full clothes on Celestial, Viper's weapons, Celestial again for the backpack and both accessories. One of the rings is also Celestial and the other one is Grieving, and last, the pendant or amulet, it's Trailblazers. This is the combination that got us as close as possible to the stats that we had prior to the nerfs. The only thing that's really missing is concentration and burn duration, which we didn't care too much anyway. And since our condi damage comes from blood and poison, I decided to go with Superior Rune of the Afflicted. It's basically giving us a chunk of condition damage, some poison duration and some bleed duration, which added to some of the expertise that Vipers is giving us and the Trailblazers pendant is also giving us, it's more than enough condition duration. Around 32 and 42%, it's a really decent number. You don't need more than that, honestly. You can go for it, and if you have it for free, yes, that's fine, but you don't need to invest too much outside of this. And when it comes to the infusions that we're using, I like to go precision because it helps us get as close as we can to 50% crit chance. That's taking into account the food buff that we have. The reason for this is, as we mentioned previously, we are going to lifesteal from critting. When it comes to the weapon sigils, I like to run in one of my maces Superior Sigil of Energy, giving us 50% of our endurance back when we swap to this weapon in combat. This is going to refill one of these bars, and it's basically giving us a free dodge roll after we swap to our maces. This is extremely strong and important out in the open. Then for the other one, I like to run Superior Sigil of Celerity, giving us quickness for 5 seconds after disabling a foe, on a 20-second cooldown. Well, we're gonna be disabling foes a lot with this build, not only with the dual maces, I believe it also can proc from Prelude Slash. So yeah, it's very consistent and super good. Quickness is amazing. And for my ShortBow, I like to run Superior Sigil of Blood here, because we're gonna be critting a lot with the bow, and it's going to give us a lifesteal every 5 seconds on those crits. The other one is Superior Sigil of Rage, giving us yet another source of quickness for 3 seconds when we crit on a 20-second cooldown. I personally think that quickness is far too valuable and makes everything super fluid, and that's why I run these sigils. Feel free to experiment with it and try what fits best for you, but with this you can't go wrong. And last but not least, our relic of choice here is Relic of the Demon Queen. This one has extreme synergy with our build, and it's also really nice because the poison now applies extra healing reduction, a 50% total, instead of the 33% that the normal poison has. On top of that, every time we disable an enemy, we're going to be applying poison, which is an extra added bonus due to the many sources of disabling we have in this build. So yeah, it's a really solid relic, and I think the best one for this build. And now I'm going to go over the talents, the pets, and the skill choices really quickly. So, Wilderness Survival. We have a little bit of Endurance Recovery. Lesser Muddy Terrain, this is a big talent because every time we use our healing skill, it will drop some CC, and sometimes this baits out important cleanses from the opponents, and now we can follow it up with the bigger buttons like Entangle, Mace Combo, Pet Stance, whatever. Companion's Defense plus Rugged Growth. This is a nice combo, basically means that every time we dodge roll, we gain protection for 2 seconds, and a little bit of healing while protection is up. A nice addition to the sustain of the build. Empathic Bond, as we've seen in previous builds that I make, it's a massive Conde cleanse, really powerful tool, and every time we swap pets, be it on the merged form or unmerged form, we will cleanse 2 conditions. And finally, we've seen already the Carnivore talent, so yeah, that's it for Wilderness Survival. Now let's talk about the Skirmishing talent tree, which is very important. Tailwind is giving us a little bit of swiftness on weapon swap while we're in combat. Now we're using Trapper's expertise over Primal Reflexes and Sharpened Edges by personal preference. You can honestly pick anything you want here. I use this one because it gives us a chunk more of regeneration on our healing skill. As you can see, it heals us once and then applies a strong regen for 3.2k, but that's without the talent. Now we pick Trapper's Expertise, and that's 5.3k. I never expected this to be super useful, but in practice I am super surprised, honestly. It was very strong and very useful, so yeah, that's my personal choice. Fury's Grip is giving us Fury whenever we swap weapons in combat. Hidden Barbs is making our blade 33% stronger, and now for the most important mechanic in this Skirmishing talent tree, Hunter's Tactic alongside Light on Your Feet. So, these two have one thing in common. It's, long story short, you want to be hitting from the side or from the back as much as possible, because Hunter's Tactic is going to make you hit harder with critical chance increase, and Light on Your Feet will make it so the attacks from behind or while flanking or against Defiant foes, but you can ignore the Defiant foe part, are improved, meaning our ShortBow is going to be doing way more damage, more conditions, and yeah, overall all you need to know is try to hit from the side or from the back with those 2 talents. Also, Light in Your Feet will make it so ShortBow abilities will pierce and auto attacks will pierce, and also will have a condition duration and damage increase whenever we evade or whenever we use the quick shot ability. This one. So yeah, overall, very strong 2 final talents, nice synergy, and you want to be trying to hit from the sides and from the back as much as possible. And last but not least, the Soulbeast tree line, of course. You probably realized by now that I'm a Soulbeast enthusiast, and even though you've seen this talent tree many times before in my videos, I'm going to go over them really quickly. First one, it's Lute Lash. What this does, it basically unlocks once you merge with a versatile type pet, you will have this skill right here that pulls foes towards you and binds them briefly. It also has a pretty decent range, like this. So yeah, it's a really strong setup skill, and on top of that, it will proc Fury and Quickness thanks to Live Fast. Basically, using our Beast ability or F3 will grant offensive boost. So yeah, pretty neat. Now, Fury Strength will make it so we deal increased strike damage when we have Fury, and we've seen that we have multiple sources for it, so yeah, pretty consistent. Predator Scanning, we've already explained, we life siphon from whenever we apply poison to the enemies, and it's unblockable. Twice as Vicious makes it so every time we disable a foe, we increase our damage and condition damage by 5% for a short duration. The thing is, we have so much CC on this build, and we disable so much, that this is extremely consistent. And finally, Eternal Bond, it's what allows us to be able to swap pets while we are merged. And on top of that, every time we use a merge skill, we'll have a little bit of a heal. So yeah, that basically allows the whole dynamic of swapping pets while merged, and it makes Soulbeast very fun. Finally, we're gonna talk about the skills and pets of choice and why, since the pets are arguably one of the most important part of the Soulbeast. The first one is the Juvenile Wolf, and it has 3 important abilities, from which we can control 1. Terrifying Howl. This is an AoE fear for 2 seconds, and you can see it right here. I don't need to tell you why this is an amazing tool. It's very versatile, be creative. Now the next 2 are a Crippling Leap, which it's basically a leap that cripples, and a charge that will knock down opponents for 2 seconds. Now this is a little bit tricky because we can't control them directly, but you can keep in mind that after you've been playing around with your other pet or with the merge mechanic, when you swap to this little guy, it's gonna be off cooldown, and the next thing he's going to do is leap and charge. So yeah, keep that in mind. Now what happens when you merge with this pet? First of all, it's a deadly type pet, which means that it will increase our condition damage by 200 and our precision by 100. Pretty nice buff. Then you will gain abilities like the Crippling Leap, Brutal Charge, and your F3 will be Primal Cry. Let's take a look at them. This is a long leap that you should use as mobility skill, which also applies Cripple. A charge that also has some range, and this is a knockdown for 2 seconds. And then your Primal Cry. This is your Condi Burst Enabler. This thing will apply poison, bleeding, and vulnerability on a massive AoE, plus, thanks to the Soulbeast talents, will give you Fury and Quickness. A really cool thing you could do, well, since this build has many sources of setup and stuns and CC, you can do a little bit of freestyle, but a nice thing to do usually would be just Brutal Charge into the Primal Cry, then do this, then that, then this. That's a nice combo. As you can see, so many condis and vulnerability applied. Yep, that's one of the things you could do. And please keep in mind that this build has endless possibilities because it has so many forms of CC and ways of killing opponents that it would take me a long time to cover everything, so I'm just going to explain and give a basic example. But yeah, the possibilities are endless, so be creative. Now, moving on to the secondary pet, this would be our Juvenile Boar. Yes, Juvenile Boar. So, This guy, well, the active ability, it's not that useful, honestly. It's just gonna place a rock or an improvised weapon, so don't worry about it. It's just, yeah, whatever. So, the other two are actually important though, because similar to the Wolfie, it has a charge with a knockdown, but this one is 3 seconds. It's even stronger. And whenever he's hitting something, he will apply 4 stacks of fleet every 10 seconds. So that's also pretty nice. Now, the good thing about this one is that it's a versatile type pet, which means every time we merge with it, we're gonna have 200 vitality and 225 concentration. Very useful. So, what do we do with this pet? We mostly use it defensively or to set up kills, and one cool way of doing it is you want to do the prelude lash followed by the brutal charge, which will stun lock people, and then you can decide if you want to go for a mace combo or entangle or bow combo, whatever. Let's just see a simple example. Like this, reset. Now obviously this guy's moved automatically, but an opponent is not going to move unless they have stun breaks and stability. Then another cool combo that you could do if you wanted to, independently of the weapon you're using, it's Prelude Lash into Eternal Bond swap, so basically swapping pets into the Primal Cry, just like this. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. And now everyone is full of conditions. So yeah, that's why we're using this little board. Lastly, we're gonna talk about the skills that we're using. So, for the healing skill, this time instead of burst stance, we are using Healing Springtrap. It is the same initial heal, but this time we have a massive regen appliance, thanks to the Trapper's expertise. On a shorter cooldown, just 24 seconds, we have Condition Cleanse. In each interval it keeps pulsating, and it creates a combo fill water, which we can use with any of our leap finishers or the mace to, you know, turn around situations, sustain ourselves, and yeah, it's pretty good. It falls perfectly within the dynamic of the build. Now, Dolja Stance, it's your break free of anything card. A massive chunk of stability. You can use this to finish down targets safely, to get away of sticky situations. It will remove roots, any slowing conditions, and break stance. So yeah, very big and powerful cooldown. Lightning Reflexes, similarly to Dolja Stance, will also remove roots and stuns. Has a really nice evade window, so you can use this deliberately to dodge important skills. And it applies Vigor, which helps with the endurance regeneration to keep rolling out of danger. It can also be used as a mobility skill if you mastered the movement a little bit like this. You can kind of reposition yourself to get close or away from any situations. Be creative with it. Now, another important cooldown is Signet of the Hand. We chose the Signet of the Hand for 2 reasons. Number 1, I don't want to be worried about fitting a movement skill, a movement speed rune in the build, and yeah, I like the consistency of always being 25% faster. Plus, when we activate it, we also gain super speed for 3 seconds, which is very useful. And the most important part of why we're using Signet of the Hand is because we're using bow, and there's so many projectile reflection plus blocks in general going on in the wild. Without Signet of the Hand, it's very easy for people to defend against this build. With this, you basically guarantee that you're gonna be doing your damage whenever you want to go for the kill. So yeah, very important. And lastly, as our elite skill, well, massive AoE root plus AoE bleeding, what else can be said, on also a relatively short cooldown. So yeah, another cool thing that you can do with Entangle is things like this. You can use a Prelude Slash, then bait some cleanses, and then afterwards you slam the ground with this, and then they are rooted for a while. And from there you can decide where to go. So that's it, guys. That's all there is to it of the build guide. I think I explained everything properly, and now I'm going to leave you with the clips. As always, if you have any doubts, you can ask anything in the comments, and yep, hopefully you like it and it's useful for somebody. So cheers, see you soon. Let's see if we can defend this. Stand into condis. Come on. Hey! We got him. Phew. Smash him. Nice. Got him. There we go, that's one. Now let's see if we can... Here? No. Not like this, man. Hear them? Done? Got this? There we go. But it's not over yet. No, please, not like this. Yes. Ew. I'm gonna bow to this guy. Respectable. Stun. Con this. Slam him. More stuns. Careful. We hit now. Here. Anti-block. Stun. Well played, sir. Truly well played. Interrupt that. Interrupt that. Run this. There we go. Come in. Cheers. Let's see what's going on. Ow. Oh. Where is he? Stun. Gotcha. Gotcha. Phew, I was distracted. Cheers. That scared me.